Hey guys, have I got some stuff for you tonight? Wow. I meant to do a video last night, but I have a slight cold, so I couldn't stop coughing last night, so I didn't want to get on and cough. And I may have to pause this a couple of times if I have to cough, but anyway, what I wanted to talk about tonight was a Project Bluebeam. With all the UFO stuff coming out right now, You need to know about Project Bluebeam. It was going to be a fake alien invasion done by holograms. And it was going to be an attack. Now they've got everything they need up there in the sky to shoot lasers at us and make it look like there's an alien invasion going on. They've also got the voice of God technology. If you don't know what that is, you need to look it up, because they can put sound all around you, or it's actually in your head, to make everyone hear the same thing without being near a device. All this is through nanotechnology and what they have been spraying in chemtrails. Please look into it more, because the metals in the chemtrails and the nanotechnology enable them to be able to do this to us if they want. Okay, this is all holograms. Now, I'm not going to play this, because I'll include the link down below for you to go over and have a look yourself, to give them the credit for this. They've got 5,866 views. But no, I don't take anyone else's work. I just wanted to show you a little bit of what I'm talking about here. So this is educational purposes I'm using this for. Please do not copyright me. I'm giving you the credit for it. Now, there's a few other people I want to give credit to, and I want to talk about this because this involves Australia and tunnels. Okay, this lady, I'm also going to include these links, and I'm not going to play any of the videos, and there is a lot more in this series to what I'm going to read to you. I would advise you to go over and, I don't know, maybe subscribe to a newsletter. I did. Show her some love, because she's done a lot of work. Same with the other people that I'm about to mention as well. Okay, let's see. Now, there is swearing. I am going to try to reword those words. Okay, just to read out here, because I don't want to offend anyone, or if you've got children, I understand, believe me. Tunnels and technology we don't know about. No, that was a question. Tunnels and technology we don't know about? I'm very unprofessional. What on earth is happening in Australia, part 4? Okay, I'm not against swearing. Believe me, I swear too. But just on this platform, and in case kids are listening, I don't want to swear, because sometimes kids are in the background, and yeah. Did you know there are huge tunnel systems in Australia? It seems there's an awful lot that's been going on here in Australia that we are all unaware of. Let's see what's been happening right under our noses. Now, I'm hearing that there are tunnels all through Australia, from Pine Gap and everywhere throughout. We have Bathurst, the Blue Mountains, where I currently am, to Ultimo, to Picton. I believe they're everywhere, in fact, under us. When the news and that talk about the underworld, sometimes I wonder if that's literally what they're talking about, because there seems to be another life going on underneath us, and we don't know about it. You realise in these tunnels, but maybe deeper down in only certain tunnels, that there are people in there, and they're like cities. This is the hidden enemy they're talking about. That and the pedophiles and all that they're all from down there, I believe. I don't know. I'm just guessing, guys. I'm being really unprofessional, but anyway. That's okay, because I'm not a professional anyway. Let's have a look at what's going on in Australia. Seriously, I've been researching a lot of stuff the last few days, so if my head seems to be all over the place, it is. It really is. I've been looking at some pretty bad stuff too. Have you heard of Pine Gap? It's a huge secret military base called DUMB, meaning Deep Underground Military Base, that is owned by the Australian government in partnership with the US. Did you know the United Nations were behind building this facility? Before Trump took over presidency of the US, our government made a deal with the cabal, Illuminati, Deep State, whatever, members, to build these secret facilities in our country. This organisation is active in tunnel manufacturing and maintenance. See here. And here it is here, group of companies under this organisation, working with the United Nations. It was granted Category 2 status as a non-governmental organisation by the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations in 1987 and collaborates regularly to the UN authorities, and these are the authorities. Then there's the site, and I will put all these links down below so that you can look at it. People get killed for talking about what's really happening at Pine Gap. No wonder there's limited information on this place. I did find some information and can connect some of the dots here. We could ask Phil Schneider, an engineer that helped to build it, but he's no longer with us after being killed when he wrote a lecture paper about it. The structure's not small. It's said to go 12 levels underground, and no Australian workers were used to build it. There are not too many details on the facility, and I know why. His lecture was deleted from the internet too, page not found when you click on the link of Phil Schneider's lecture. Whoa. Talk about, you know why they compartmentalise things? It enables them to do things like this. That's why everything is, people don't like, you've got a doctor now and then you've got a doctor who specialises in this and that, and they used to generally know most of it themselves, but now, yeah, it's compartmentalised. Every bit of society is made that way now. Phil Schneider, a very brave man, recently lost his life due to what appeared to be a military-style execution in January 1996. He was found dead in his apartment with piano wire still wrapped around his neck. According to some sources, he'd been brutally tortured repeatedly before being killed. Phil Schneider was an ex-government engineer who was involved in building underground bases. He was one of 3 people to survive the 1979 firefight between the large Greys and US intelligence and military forces at Dulce Underground Base. I think I said that right. In May 1995, Phil Schneider did a lecture on what he had discovered. 7 months later, he was tortured and killed by those for whom he had previously worked. Now, what was in here that I just had a thought of? Between the large Greys and US intelligence. Yeah, okay, I believe what you guys would probably think aliens are, I think they're interdimensional. And when they talk about space force, I really do believe that it's to try and get rid of some of this technology. In May 1995, Phil Schneider did a lecture on what he had discovered. 7 months later, he was tortured and killed by those for whom he had previously worked. Here is the link, Phil Schneider's lecture, above top secret, and it'll be there, and it'll be underneath this video. But wait, there's more. Much, much more. I've also confirmed that there is also a DUMB facility in the Blue Mountains. Likely more going by the below. There are also tunnels in other cities in Australia too. I have evidence on Adelaide and Canberra, so we'll stick to those two for this blog. This is enough information to give us the whole picture anyway, more than enough. And I can say in the Blue Mountains, they got your Nolan Caves. It's part of it. You might be alarmed to know there are cities and tunnels all over the world. It is a massive scale system, and Trump and co have been using military operations to blow them up and destroy them. This is happening now. You know what? This is the hidden enemy and the silent war. It really is. It's going on and we don't even know because it's underneath us. Now, I don't know what's going to happen in the Blue Mountains, whether the mountains are going to crumble or what. But I've got a feeling we may not see much, but we might feel something. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what to expect. Oh. But hopefully it won't be too bad. I'm willing to ride it out and see how it goes. If they come and evacuate me, I'll move. If they tell me I need to go from the area for some other reason, I'll go. Not to mention the huge amount of earthquakes reported all over the world. Oh, hang on. This is happening now. See the US military intelligence update below. A detailed overview with evidence from tunnels being blown up, fires coming out of manholes, sewers and drains. Not to mention the huge amount of earthquakes reported all over the world. I may have read that like 2 or 3 times just then. So, okay, then there is this. And it could be, I think some of them are Gene. From Blessed to Teach and McAllister TV and Kirsten W. There's a few of them who have Gene on. They're uncovering technology that's been kept from us. Technology that can change humanity and make the earth an awesome place for everyone. Can you imagine? Instead, they use it for nefarious purposes. To recap, they've blown up tunnels that connect to other countries. They had to fight hand-to-hand combat on land to take down these tunnel operations, because if they blew up all the tunnels and filled with ocean water, it would make the ocean drop so much that it would cause an ice age. So who are they fighting in the tunnels? The Illuminati, Cabal, or whatever you want to call them. I personally can think of a few words for them. This is their operation, which is satanic, sick operation, including human trafficking, human slavery by various means, including advanced technology, MK Ultra, mind control and cloning. Stay with me, it makes sense, and I will prove this is real a bit later on. Let's keep looking the magnitude of this operation, just to name a few. Northrop facility near... Oh, I can't say that. Tehachapi... No, mountains. Somewhere, Northrop facility. Okay, somewhere in the mountains. Is the Illuminati's top secret... Oh, can someone tell me how to say that one? I should have looked that up. That one. Tehachapi Mountains? Oh. Okay. Don't get stuck on one word. Keep going, woman. Okay. It's the Illuminati's top secret base for advanced technology, aerospace research and genetic experiments. It is 42 levels deep. It is 800 miles or 1,287 kilometres. Most importantly and most disturbingly though, the military rescued 35,927 children. This is just one base. The magnitude is horrifying, in order to make them into slave bots for their sick society. They lived in cages, they were tortured and controlled by means of lights and bells going off, and used electrocution as another method. And who knows what else? One can barely comprehend this. Lawrence Livermore facility is into human geomapping, a cloning facility. Stay with me, it all makes sense, I'll get to that later. The facility costs $1.2 billion to build new, and people are going hungry. Palmdale facility is into anti-gravity technology, research and new aircraft technology. Sounds interesting. They're not building strange spacecraft, are they? It's exactly what I think. Boulder facility. This one says it all about what was intended to happen if Hillary Clinton got her way. This one is larger than the city above, intended to be the new DC. It's the main hub for all US facilities and is the main hub for maglev trains, aka anti-gravity. These trains connect to places via the tunnels all over the country. They have storage of all supplies to support 1 million for 150 years. The city is complete with huge lakes, parks and luscious flora and fauna, all powered with Tesla-free energy. Wow, sounds like a lovely, disturbing place, complete with the massive MK Ultra mind control facilities. I expect they need a lot of slaves to operate that big city. You did catch the part about Hillary Clinton and a plan to start a war if she was elected, right? In case you missed it, it was part of the One World Order plan or Agenda 21 or 2030 to take over the planet with this filth. She, or it, planned to send everyone in the US a letter with either a blue dot or a red dot. Blue meaning you were going to live because you could be controlled and were useful to them, and red meaning you would be killed. Personally, I don't know which would be worse. And what about the rest of the world population? Take a deep breath. Now back to Australia. Do you think it's possible these cities and tunnels are in Australia? How many mines and tunnels are there in Australia? Do you think the cruise ships being strategically placed around Australia's coastline might have something to do with this happening here too? Or the hospitals being empty? Who are these empty beds for? Now before we go on to the tunnels, I need to introduce you to someone. You would know his daughter, Nicole Kidman. Her father is Anthony Kidman. Anthony Kidman went to St. Aloysius College in Sydney, a Jesuit school. Jesuit is a Spanish Illuminati founded by Adam Weishaupt. Dr. Anthony Kidman researched, studied, performed experiments involving LSD and mind control. In particular, learned helplessness is defined as the condition in which a person suffers from a sense of powerlessness arising from a traumatic event or persistent failure to succeed. This term was coined by Dr. Martin Seligman, the CIA torture expert who discovered the phenomena while electroshocking dogs. Now these are lovely people. I mean, we couldn't have any worse than what we've got in control right now. We have the worst of the worst criminals that are controlling everything and who run our governments and all corporations. Dr. Anthony Kidman had strong connections to the man behind the CIA's torture program and his learned helplessness theory. And there's Fiona Barnett's trauma research of his abuse of Fiona Barnett. I can absolutely see why in the picture above 9 News would refer to him in the caption as a respected psychologist. Grr. Please keep reading, it only gets better. If you think poor Nicole is not involved, think again. I'm unsure on Keith, maybe he's under mind control. Nicole and Keith were married in 2006 at the Star of the Sea Jesuit Church by Father Paul Coleman. He's their family priest. Let's not forget that Nicole also still has ties to the Church of Scientology, a CIA MK Ultra mind control linked cult too. What a superstar. And Nicole Kidman starred in the 1999 Kubrick film Eyes Wide Shut, which is a story based on elite sex cult that engages in satanic rituals. The rituals performed in the movie match the descriptions that have been documented by survivors and witnesses. Another strange Kidman connection to Satanism is the woman who brought Nicole to international fame. It was Liz Molinar, who is credited with Nicole's international success. She is the founder of Heal for Life, Australia's leading satanic ritual abuse clinic, where there have been reports that satanic cult members have been employed. Molinar was a victim of a pedophile ring and alleges her Church of England father was responsible. Molinar was responsible for the casting in the 1987 film The Right-Hand Man. The filming for this movie took place in 1985 in Bathurst. On the same week as the satanic ritual Fiona Barnett alleges took place at the Bathurst City Hall. Who is Fiona Barnett? I'm glad you asked. When we take into account the Kidman's long-time association with Seligman's role in developing the CIA's torture program with his learned helplessness research, and then Kidman's clear involvement with CBT, positive psychology, LH and torture-linked research, it adds serious weight behind Fiona Barnett's allegations. Fiona claims in the 70s Dr. Anthony Kidman was involved in using violent torture techniques on her during her time as a guinea pig in top-secret mind control research. She alleges that this was led by the CIA's global head of psychology, Dr. John W. Gittinger, and pedophilesdownunder.com, ritual abuse in Australia. There's a link. Are you thinking this couldn't be happening in Australia? One can understand why people would think that's not possible. Most of us had good hearts and couldn't do this to another person. What these people do is indescribable, and they must be either under mind control themselves or possessed with demons they worship. Seriously. As H. Jackson Brown said, the greatest ignorance is to reject something you know nothing about. So who's involved? How's this happening, and how do we know nothing about it? A tightly organised mafia-style hierarchically structured crime syndicate has infiltrated every aspect of Australian society, including Parliament, judiciary, church denominations, law enforcement, military, child protection, hospitals, education facilities, and childcare centres. And speaking on that, apparently today in Penrith, a 2-year-old child was found in the bathroom of a childcare centre, abused. Had to be taken to hospital. The network has numerous branches and many thousands of members who profit from various illegal activities, including drugs, arms, and child trafficking. It's a well-oiled clandestine machine fueled by public ignorance and distraction. And there's Kidman Trauma Research, his abuse of Fiona Barnett. The mainstream media don't report on this mostly, and every time I see these victims go to the authorities, no one wants to deal with them. From what I can see, and all the evidence is that they are involved up to their neck, too scared to have anything to do with this. After all, we wouldn't want to end up like Phil Schneider and thousands of others now, would they? Fiona is one of the strongest light warriors I've come across. Fiona is a true Australian hero. As a country, we owe her a great debt of gratitude for speaking out about her horrific childhood. The light that she has shined on the darkness will enable this to stop happening to other children. It could have been one of your children, or my children, or my grandchildren, or your grandchildren. It has happened to many other families. Think of William Tyrrell, the Beaumont children. There are thousands more every year. That little boy, he was so cute. But all of them. A snippet from Fiona's memoirs, now 40 years old. I write with the audacity of one who spent 40 years wandering alone through Australia's victim-bashing wilderness. I write with the tenacity essential for withstanding the total onslaught from an organisation with unlimited worldly power and resources. I write with zero tolerance of my perpetrators, less respect for those who mend our health, justice and education systems, and the least allowance for those who warm our Sunday pews. I pen with a sense of righteous anger that should consume every Australian citizen exposed to the silent Holocaust that erodes our society, instead of opting to bask in ignorance. I write in recognition of my fellow victims who did not live to share their stories, the countless babies bred for abortion and sacrifice, the adults abducted for ritual rape, torture and murder, the children raised in captivity, deemed unworthy of a birth certificate, having never felt the sun on their skin. I write to give these souls a voice. I write to provoke the victims still trapped in the matrix, those bound and gagged by unscrupulous methods, and who sense that something's not quite right but can't recall what or why. I urge these victims to be brave enough to swallow the red pill and confront the fear that cloaks the true source of their inner longing and discontent. Okay, I just had a break there. I'm sure you can understand why. I'm only human, so I'm not going to apologise for it, but I am only human. Whew, okay, now I know the truth makes some people a bit uncomfortable, so I've taken snippets out of Fiona's abuse drawings. The only evidence she has are drawings. They tell an eye-opening story about what on Earth and who on Earth is involved in Australia. Oh, part 1, prostituted by the Australian government to Richard Nixon at RAAF Fairburn Military Airport, Canberra. The Australian Federal Police Unit, Operation Attest, refused to investigate this incident. They promised to at least investigate and tell me whether or not there was a centrifuge at the base. Used to train pilots in to validate my memories. An ex-military person who worked at the base validated its existence instead. Another connection between the Australian and US government. They are such great mates, aren't they? Hang on for the ride, part 2. Being used as a guinea pig, subject to really bad child things, electrocution, torture at Holsworthy Army Base and Lucas Heights nuclear reactor for the Jason project by John Giddinger and Dr. Anthony Kidman, with the full knowledge and approval of the Australian government. Okay. I think I'm going to stop reading there. But no. There was a girl hanging in a freezer room, sold for meat. You don't believe me? Don't go to Macca's. Don't go to Macca's. Okay, I'm going to leave this for you. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I want to. Look, if YouTube wasn't censoring so much, I would, because I want to read it properly. I want to read all the words that it says here. I don't want to censor it, but I feel like I have to. Fiona just said, there's an underground railway system that connects all major cities in Australia, including Pine Gap. And it goes a lot more. You like kids, apparently. And it keeps going. But I've got another one for you. I will include all these links down below, so look, when everything starts uncensoring itself, I'll come back and read the whole thing. I hate having to censor anything. This is like, obviously that last bit was part 4, this is part 9. There are parts in between. That's why I'm going to give you these links and let you go through it yourself. If there's one you come across that you really think, oh look, until they stop censoring people, there's a lot of words I can't even say. Melbourne's secret tunnel is one of the worst places on earth. Now this is why, okay, I had a bit of confirmation today also that the blocks of units that I was talking about in Melbourne or Victoria being shut down, there is something going on with it. And I will include a link that explains that a little bit more as well. So, have I got them all open? No, I haven't got them all open. Straight from the military intelligence mouth. This is not something to be proud of, it being a world leader in. How and when did all this start here? We have hard fact evidence tunnels are being destroyed in Australia everywhere. Let's connect the dots on this mind-blowing revelation. The only other country beating us at the worst is Antarctica. You'd have to be hiding under a rock not to know about the huge DUMB in Antarctica. But Australia comes second, with South Africa coming in as equal to Australia or near enough. What on earth? See the gene decode? Skip to it's about the 48-minute mark actually. And it's only a minute or two, but the whole thing's worth listening to. because it's about everywhere. Now let's get this straight. Jean thought the Hog was the worst tunnel they'd worked on. It took 6 months of operations to clear out. The worst one until now in Australia. Melbourne's the worst than that. So how long is Australia going to take to clear up? What do you think the lockdown's for? I'm serious. There's two things going on here at once. One's covering up for the other one, okay? Note that Jean made reference to something of massive importance about earthquakes that have been happening all over the world. 3K, 5K and 10K. Let's have a look. South Australia. Magnitude, the depth, 9K. Okay? How do I get rid of this? We have one just north of Bathurst. West of Mudgee. Depth, 1 kilometre. And I've been hearing that these earthquakes have been happening at plus 3 kilometres above the ground, but out in the ocean. So they have got them all out there. There's one down here near I think this is Picton, is it? Appin, yep, Picton. 2 kilometres deep. So this is just backing up what this lady's telling you, because everything under the 10K is these things. The 3, the 5, the 10. But I think even these shallow ones, 2s and 1s, and I saw some on the USGS that were 0 depth. So make of that what you will. Continue anyway. Let's see. This is the world. Oh, well, that was Australia. This is oh, whoa, went right out. Okay, 7.4, 7.3, 8.3. Okay, they're probably proper earthquakes. Here we go, Alaska, 0.0 kilometres. There's a lot of them. I'll include this link too, so that you can go through, because once you start scrolling, 2.2, 9.2, 1.7, 3.7, 9.3, 6.6, 3, naught, again, in Alaska. 5, could they be, you're in summertime up there, aren't you? I was going to say, could they be like avalanches or something? I don't know. 5, 3, 2, 1.4, minus 0.8. In the middle of the ocean. Sorry, it wasn't plus, it was minus. It's in the middle of the ocean. Minus 0.8. Look, the rest of them are this deep, right? And this one's got minus in front of it. That means it is above. How do you get an earthquake above in the ocean? Okay, okay. This is evidence of where the tunnels are being blown up. Exactly where and when they're occurring, it makes sense. How else could they all be so precise? I will explain. What has been happening in the last 30 days with earthquakes in Australia? Okay, Melbourne gets locked down on the 7th of July 2020. Then there are earthquakes recorded on 13th, 14th, with a depth of, you guessed it, both exactly 10K. As mentioned in my previous blog, I discussed unusual activity in the area where I live off the south coast of Australia. Guess what? Wollongong, which is the name of the region, also had an earthquake that was exactly 10K deep on the 14th of July. Actually, there have been earthquakes all over Australia, which Australia doesn't normally get many earthquakes at all. I don't even think that they should, because we're right in the middle of a plate. We're not on the edge of any plate. In the last 30 days, there have been 49 earthquakes In Australia, only 2 were not exactly 10. Okay, they're saying at exactly 3, 5 and 10. I think Jan explains that anyway in the video up above. So please go and have a look at these, because they're really worth looking at. Geez, looks like we're all bang on about Adelaide and the tunnels there, and then some. Picture below is taken from Google Maps. I've taken the liberty and got creative with dotting all the places that had these 10-kilometre deep earthquakes in the past 30 days. I missed a few in the southwest Perth area, as Maps has a limit on the number of places you can mark at the same time. But look at this. Earthquakes have very coincidentally happened in very strategic locations right around the entire country of Australia. Have a good look. But there'd be all little tunnels off these. Looks like we have evidence of these tunnel systems all around Australia, through Australia, and thanks to the earthquakes, I'll take a wild guess that they are now cut off from access to the rest of the world. No one in, no one out. I don't know whether to say woohoo or be sick, and Pine Gap sits right in the centre of the entire operation. Surprised or not surprised? This is a huge project, so what is the history? When did all this start in Australia? Well, I couldn't believe this was sitting on my desk right in front of my face for years, until the other day I looked up and a familiar name caught my attention. This is the picture of the first fleet, the first non-Indigenous people to settle Australia. They arrived in 1788. This lists all the ships, people, animals and equipment of the voyage. Wow. Who do we have aboard the HMS Sirius? Thomas Freeman, a clerk, and David Collins, a lieutenant, and Charles Prater, servant to Lieutenant Collins. The part of the official party, Thomas Freeman, a clerk, part of the Marines, David Collins, lieutenant. And what do we have here? Lieutenant Collins had a servant. Notice there are no convicts on HMS Sirius. Notice Lieutenant Collins is the only person on the entire fleet to have a servant. Not even the captain got a servant. Lieutenant Collins must have been a very important lieutenant. This guy must have been very, very important. Collins and Freeman make the list too. Top 13 Illuminati bloodlines, middleman. In this evidence that the Illuminati sent their family to Australia with boatloads of people to purposely start a new country under their control from day one. Australia is the blueprint of... See, they must have learnt by Canada and all the other countries what to do in Australia. Why did they come here? What was their real agenda? Gold is a universal currency and there's plenty of it here. So how did they know? To be continued in a next blog on our real history. This all starts to shed a totally different light on our Australian history. It sure looks like we've all been fooled. We know who owes the First Nations people an apology. We are all owed an apology. I'm sure that my ancestor Matthew Everingham warranted being exiled to another country for stealing a book. If he did. After all, who wrote the history of the First Fleet? The same people that are writing the narrative now, I expect. It makes more sense. They needed humans for breeding and all other sick and twisted purposes they've used us for. And if since the first humans, we may be waiting a while for an apology, but we can wake up to what is and has been going on so we can end all this suffering. The underground tunnels are real. The Illuminati is real. Human trafficking is real. This is reality. And it goes on to where have all the children been disappeared. It's a good blog. It is a really good blog. She's done a lot of research. Even this, the Adreno, the containers. She's got the storage facilities in here. She's got this. If you're still not convinced this is a massive worldwide demonic cult complete with pedophilia, incest, ritual ceremonies that include children, sacrificing other children or babies in this case, you should watch this 9-year-old little girl tell her story. She couldn't make it up if she tried. I watched it. And it's quite disturbing, I will warn you now. If this doesn't make you see the serious reality that has been happening, then I don't know what will. Just think we have to rewrite our entire history because what we know and what we've been taught is a lie, all of it. We are at the time to draw a line in the sand to bring peace and sovereignty to humanity, free of this control matrix. You're important to this change. Every one of us contributes individually and all together. You're way more powerful than you could imagine. The Illuminati had the power because they kept us trapped in this matrix. Knowledge is power, our power, a power far greater than theirs. And I'm going to leave it there for tonight, guys. And the last thing I wanted to mention before I go, this is an edit, I had to do this because I forgot to put it in the first video. Rachel Vaughan witness testimony. Every Australian should listen to this. Every single one of them. The Beaumont children that went missing in 1970s. I would listen to this. I'm going to include this link below. I'm not going to say anything more on it. Please go and listen to it. Even if you're not Australian, just go and listen to it. It'll explain what's going on in every country, because this is going on in every country. Okay guys, have a good night, good morning, wherever you are. And I'll be back very soon. I have a cold, so you'll have to bear with me if I don't get back on tomorrow. But yeah, hopefully I'll be over it very quickly. It does seem like it's a very mild, going away quickly. And I'll talk to you soon. Okay guys, bye.